Hello and welcome back to another episode of It's been 4 months since I last uploaded, and I have sporadically decided to post a video. I just realized I don't have Optifine on, so I can't zoom in. I also am invisible, so that's not significant. Anyway, as I most likely put in the title, I created a recreation of Celeste in Minecraft, and that's what this is. It's Celeste, the game. Okay, so a note from editing this is specifically this is based on the Celeste classic version of the game, which is my excuse for leaving out a lot of features like grabbing onto walls. Ignore the fact that I also skipped out on some features that are in that version of the game. Back to the video. And you might say, if you've played Celeste, that the Madeline, the character you play as, is a little more detailed than this rendition, but I don't know, I think it would have been so easy to just make a texture pack for this, but I didn't anyway. Yeah. So, first what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna show what it does. And so I was gonna make this like a full-on map, so I have this tiny little 1 block wide lobby here, but then I didn't. So, okay, so when you click this button, basically, so first of all, I'm gonna go into F1, and I actually set this up so that you just use the player WASD as well as space to jump and shift as a dash. And after I demonstrate the game, I'm going to show if anyone watches this video and is interested in how this kind of thing is done, I will show all the stuff I did to make it. So that's why if you'll notice whenever I jump, you'll sometimes notice the screen do a little shake. That's because the player is actually jumping. If I go into F, okay, well, it's kind of hard to see, but you get the point. And yeah, so I made some, if you get to the edge, you win the level, you can go across things, you can dash, you can do all that stuff. Here's some, these kill you. Yeah, we don't, avoid those. So I made like death things. Also, if you fall in a pit, you die. This is it's a spring, cause for some reason that's a thing that every platformer has. Anyway, I just failed the easiest thing. There is some actually cool stuff. Like I made, this is a dash orb, and it actually functions. It like goes away, it comes back, it gives you a dash. It does. Ooh, I did not mean to move my mouse there. And then here's a level that just has a lot of stuff, got some beautiful spikes on the right side. And here's a level I never finished. Anyway, that's the demonstration, and I think it's pretty cool. Now, if I press, you can also skip levels in this, by the way, if you don't want to play it. Anyway, if you press that button, yeah. So, first of all, one thing I will note is that you kind of have to set your FOV to Quake Pro to play this, because I initially created it with like a 90 FOV in mind, but then I gave the player slowness, which zooms in your thing. So you have to play with a lot of FOV. Sorry about that. But I actually built this with, I wanted to make it really easy to build levels. So as you can see, there are infinite possible levels here. The reason there are infinite is because I accidentally made a command block that made infinite of them. So, whatever you do, I think I broke the command block. It used to be here. Oh, by the way, I'm putting this in the description if you want to actually see this or stuff. But basically, first of all, I went the wrong way, because over here are a bunch of little handy dandy shmandy nandy buttons, and basically all of these you don't matter, but these are all the different things you can place. And so like the way a level works is that there's actually, as you can see, the level you see is fake. It's all a lie. I keep forgetting that I have invisibility on. So then I go into third person mode and it's just this anyway. So all of this, you know, like you can just break this. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be there. It's lies and deceit. This level, okay, well I just realized it would play correctly if these blocks are missing, because all it cares about is these blocks in the back. Over here, if I move this, now suddenly it acts differently. Because I have the hitboxes separately, essentially. So every level has the level built out, and I can use any blocks for anything, anywhere. Also, you might notice that there's 4 blocks here, and I didn't really do it much, but if in the level thing, if you build blocks in the front or in the back by like a block or 2, I think it's just anything above this gray or cyan. This in the back is what actually the things happen. And you might notice frogs also. Oh, first of all, I am so out of unfocused. That's the word. Yes. There's the red. That's your death zone. The white's the ground. Green is the goal. That's where the player has to go. You can also place it here if you want to build like a little flag or something instead of just having the player go off screen like I did. Then the fun part, initially I just had a set place for Madeline, but I made it so you can actually put it wherever you want. You can put the start position anywhere. You can also have multiple, and it gets weird and glitchy, so don't do that probably. But yeah, these are just little frogs. They're renamed. They don't move. They have 1 health, so you could kill them when you need. Yes. There's also these guys, the dash crystals. And those are the same thing. If you want to place a dash crystal, just build out to where you want it, place it down, and you have a dash crystal there. And when you play the level, all like the level playing stuff should work. I think this is the reset level button. It probably works correctly. I'm not going to try because I don't want to delete any of these. I can try deleting this level. This level doesn't exist. Yeah, the reset level button also doesn't care about entities, so sorry about that. I never implemented that. And I was working on this like a month ago, and I'm not working on it now, so that's not getting implemented. Anyway, so that's all the things over there. But there's also the things over here. So if you wanted to create a little mini-game type thing like this in Minecraft, you might be wondering, how? So the first thing, basically the way, and I'm going to explain how it works. This isn't a tutorial, this is a like, to be honest, there's definitely some stuff here that I forgot how it works. But anyway, basically the first thing, this armor stand here, which is the armor stand that represents the player character. Over here, it mirrors with this yellow, I was going to say wool, it's concrete powder. It's also orange. I'm not colorblind. I don't know why I said yellow. But basically, this has a tag, and you can use the /tag command to give any player or entity a tag. You can also summon entities with tags, but I constantly forget how to do that, so maybe I'll show later if I have a command block with that in it. So essentially this is a tag, and the use of that is that if you do /execute as @e, or any command that can target players and entities, and then you can say tag equals, and then you can put like player here, whatever tag you have, every entity with that specific tag has that happen to it. So if you want to have a player, then you do that. So for example, if I go over here, so the gravity is execute as @e, tag equals Madeline, that's the tag the player has, scores equals, and this means, I believe, if the dash score, which basically, there's a bunch of scores, those are essentially how you store variables if you haven't done stuff. I think they are intended to be used for like scores or like player stats. They're generally used for like player stats and stuff, but if you make a score and have the criteria for the score be dummy, you can just set to whatever you want and it won't change automatically. But you can also add scores to entities or literally any string of text. You can have something that's just like hello and then set the score to that. You can have the letter 1 have a score. The number 1, I mean. And then it says as unless block, and this thing here basically checks a quarter of the block under the targeted thing, which by the way was that armor stand I was looking at a second ago. Well, unless that block is white wool, it'll run this, which TPs it down. So the gravity in this game's a little basic because it's a constant speed, but I probably could have figured out how to do it at a faster speed, but it wasn't worth it. This works, you know? And there's a bunch of stuff here. So first of all, I'm gonna show how I do the inputs, because actually there's a button over here that does it. This is the start game button. You might notice when you're playing, even though you're using the player A, D, W, and S keys, the player doesn't seem to move at all. If you look really closely, you can see a very slight jitter. I can barely even see it with minimum FOV and a spyglass, so that's how subtle it is. And basically, what's cool about that is because if you just put yourself in a box like this, when you move, you can tell you're moving, like, visibly. So basically, the way that I have it set up, and I kind of did this in an awful way, but anyway, there's these armor stands around the block where the player stands. And also I used pink terracotta because I want it to point towards the screen, by the way. I don't just use this as a building block. Basically, each of these armor stands, I believe, has a different tag for like left, right, forwards, and backwards. And it's positioned at exactly certain points that have meaning, but I forgot. Where basically, so for example, if I look at how it moves right, it's at the thing with the right tag. Oh god, this video is going to be so long and so boring. So, it checks for entities that are players within an area around it. And that area is just to the side of where the player is usually standing. So if you move at all to the side, it'll teleport you back to where you were standing before. It will also then trigger this conditional chain command block, which basically only if the previous command block actually did something, it'll run. Which is basically, so instead of having to have this whole front part here in all of these command blocks, these ones are just chains that know that's already happened. That alone is really jittery. So to fix that, basically this is also the reason why the FOV has to be so high, is when you're playing, you have slowness, which makes it so that you move a very, very small amount, just enough for it to pick up on it. Now, with jumping, I couldn't really find a good solution, because the way it checks jumps, I think there's a way you can check it with scoreboards, but I didn't do that. I just did the same thing where it checks if you move up. So you get these little jitters. It's not that bad. I'm sure you could find a way to fix it, but I didn't. But what I did do is the shifting, usually in Minecraft when you shift, your screen moves down a little bit. And I didn't want that. And there might be some setting in like here maybe that lets you turn that off. I don't know. But in the way that I did it, I think is pretty cool. Because basically, you don't actually stand on that block down there. You're standing on a barrier with a barrier directly above you, which forces you into the crouched mode. And when you're crouched, you can still detect if the player's shifting. I think I did use scoreboards for that one. It just, if I set scoreboard, objective set display sidebar, and then set it to crouch detect, as you can see it detects when I'm crouching. And it does that because the criteria for the scoreboard is how many frames I think you've been crouching for, and then I just have it so that it constantly goes back down. So whenever you crouch, it goes to 1, and then whenever you uncrouch, it automatically switches back to 0, and that's how it checks crouching. And then I just have these around me so that the screen doesn't get all messed up. Anyway, there's a bunch of other stuff here that's cool, probably. You can look at it in the world download that I'm hopefully going to remember to provide. And there's all these command blocks that do different things. But what I thought, I'm just going to talk about one more thing about how I made this, which is these. These are essentially functions. Also, if you're smarter than I was when making this, you would have, instead of using command blocks, used a data pack, which it's basically command blocks, but in a coding format. It's really cool. I've used them before, but I didn't use them here. But basically these are, you've probably seen this if you've seen any command block thing. It's where these get set to redstone blocks, and then it triggers command blocks, and that's all. But these are just, I thought they were cool because it's like these do different things. Yeah. Wow. Anyway, here we go. I need to make this a little more personal. I hate this. Yeah. I could explain all of this, and if this gets the surprising amount of views or something, which won't happen, but I guess if it does happen, I'll be surprised, because it's surprising. And you, oh, yeah, and you wanna, and people are interested in how this works, I could make a follow-up video, but I probably won't, because, this video is not going to get views. But yeah, like I showed earlier, there's this whole level editor here. By the way, if you do the editor, all the blocks, things are here. And if you're extra cool, you can try and figure out how everything I made works and add extra stuff to the editor. Because it's not actually that hard to add new things. I guess actually programming the game mechanics the hardest part. Yeah, anyway. Bye. Wow. Yeah. Yeah. Honestly, this is like top 10 outros I've ever done. I don't usually have a good outro, so like as far as bad outros I've had, this like honestly isn't even that crazy. Bye for real. Woo.